So hello, welcome to my talk. Now we are going to talk about making apps that users love. But not only that, but because it's hard enough to make one app that users love, but what we are trying to do is not only to do that for one team, but to do it to help dozens of teams at the same time do it. So this will be a story of the tools that, or some of the tools that we are using at Appsilon to address this problem. But before we talk about what we do want to achieve, let's talk a little bit about what we want to avoid. So welcome to the application graveyard. This is a place where applications go where they are not quite what we set out to achieve. So for example, some apps, strictly speaking, satisfy requirements, but perhaps then no one ends up using them. Perhaps they are just too hard to use. Maybe they are too slow, they are full of technical jargon, or have some other deficiencies that make them hard to use. That can easily kill an app. And finally, maybe the app is just ugly. So I don't know about I'm not ashamed to admit that from time to time, one of our apps can reach the or get close to the application graveyard. Hopefully, it can be rescued from there. And I wonder, like, what's your experience? So, who put your hand up if you have seen an app that was in the application graveyard? Yeah, a lot of you. So hopefully this talk can help you to avoid it in the future. So that's what we want to do. We want to escape the application graveyard. Okay, so first of all, like, of course, we are going to try to do it through great design. But we don't only care about design for its own sake. Of course, we care about it because great design is a path to what we really want, which is adoption, people using our apps, and impact, that their lives are better and the results of their companies are better as a result. And of course, the opposite is also true, that if we ignore design and we by accident end up with a bad design, this can be a significant obstacle to adoption and impact. So that's what we would like to avoid. So a few words about me. My name is Michał Parkoła. I'm a manager at Appsilon, and I manage our design team and the design tools, one of which I will tell you about in a second. And so also what I wanted to share is that in my career, I have learned two things that I wanted to share today, and that is that design is not only about how things look, and the second thing is that it's very hard to change a larger organization. So hopefully, like the tool I'll show you in a second will help with both of those things. But first of all, like it's good to start with answering the question, what is great design? Because design is a very general word. Many people have different ideas about what it means exactly. So the first thing is to clarify what do we mean by great design in our context. So first of all, our assumption is that great design makes apps useful for a particular type of person, for a particular application, solving an important problem for them in their particular context. So number one trait or result of great design is usefulness. Number two, that great design makes apps easy to use. So it's not enough that it technically solves some kind of problem. It helps if it's easy to use, if it doesn't provide or put unnecessary obstacles in the path of the users. So number two, easy to use. And number three, beautiful. So as I said, it's not the most important thing. It's not the only thing when it comes to design, but of course it is one of the factors. And one reason is that, well, there is a bias that beauty equals virtue. So if it's beautiful, like, it gets judged better regardless. And of course, we want our users to be happy about using the app, and we want to be proud about for the apps that we create. So that's also a factor. Okay, and one thing I wanted to underline, that those are some high-level aspirations, but in practice, we are not expecting that everyone will hit perfection every time. So it's enough to use the tool to make things better, to make the app a little more useful, a little easier to use, a little more beautiful. And that's already start of a success. It doesn't have to be perfect from the start. Okay, so let me give you a quick example of how we used this framework in a recent project that we had. So we built an app for Boston Medical Center. It took about 2 months. It's called the Health Equity Explorer. It helps doctors and researchers analyze data about population health to hopefully discover systematic factors that lead to good or bad health outcomes for a whole population or area. So one thing, we tried to put a lot of effort into making it useful, and we did it through like close collaboration with the client. We talked almost every day to make sure that we really understand their needs, that we understand their context, and that this app really fits those things. And second, we try to make it easy to use. And of course, the key tool to make it easy to use is user testing. So as Maria told you a few minutes ago, it's about having the user attempt to perform their task in the app, and without too much explanation, without being led by the hand. And then we can see, are they successful, are they not, where do they get stuck, and so on, and then we can go from there. So we did a lot of user testing for this app. And then in the end, of course, we tried to add some spit and polish to make it a little nicer to look at. So that was a quick example of how a framework like that can be applied. So the question is like, okay, great design, nice story, but so who should be involved? Like one thing, a great design, so maybe the designers are responsible for design. And of course, designers should be involved. But it's not only designers. Like other people need to be involved in the whole process to achieve that goal, like also managers, project leaders, engineers on the team, and maybe most importantly, the clients themselves. So design is not only about beauty, and design is also not only about designers. So how do you make it happen? Well, now I will show you. So we have several tools that help us do that, but today I will show you one. And this one is our design planning and evaluation tool. It's a humble Google Sheet with some sections. And so now I will walk you through the various sections. Don't worry about reading the details. Later, I will give you a link and you can download it for yourself and learn more and hopefully adapt it or use it for your projects as well. So there are 4 sections. One is like a general information section, client, app name, the history of our involvement, because maybe we are taking over an app, or maybe we build it from scratch, or maybe even we are evaluating an existing app that we didn't even make, just to learn about stuff. So that's the first part. And then there are 3 parts relating to the 3 traits of great design. So blue section, usefulness; green section, easy to use; red section, beautiful. So zooming in on the usefulness section, one key thing is that we separate planning and evaluation. So at first we started with the evaluation part, but quickly found out that if we evaluate a project at the end, of course, that's too late to change anything about it. So definitely we have to plan to achieve great design up front, and then that's like at the end the evaluation will be better. So one thing, there's a section to just answer the question like, who is it for? What is the target audience? What kind of users will use the app? Of course, it's not enough to just say users. And what problem are we solving for them? And then we have sections for the things that really want to achieve, which is adoption. How many people will be using the app? How often? Over what time? And what impact is it going to make? So for adoption, it helps to ask upfront, okay, how are we going to measure it? Like just putting in the instrumentation to measure adoption is already not obvious in some situations. So how are we going to measure it? And then also like what would be a successful number? Like what are we expecting to achieve? And then let's say after a few months, let's say we have 10 users. Is that a success or not success? Well, it depends on what kind of users, what problem they are solving. Sometimes one user using the app once can be a success if it's like, I don't know, they show it to some senator and they then pass some law based on that they're convinced based on the app. So maybe that would be a success even though if it's just one user. So it's good to have those conversations up front. And also an important conversation that is good to have at the start is that to imagine like, okay, we've shipped the app, we are talking about some app, the client maybe lists some functions that they expect in the app, but then it's important to ask, okay, so let's imagine we ship the app, all the functions are there, and what will happen then? A very simple question, but it helps to uncover maybe gaps in our thinking that maybe to achieve the goal that they have in mind, maybe not all of those functionalities are necessary, or maybe we need to do something extra, maybe we need to do some training, maybe we need to do a video explaining the app to people, or maybe we just need to collect email addresses before we ship the app. There are many things in the general area of, let's say, product management that we can do to achieve this bigger impact, regardless of the shape of the app. So that's going through this section in the sheet helps teams to have those important conversations and to explain with clients like why are we asking those questions and in what context do we see it. So that was the usefulness section. Ease of use section includes some various methods, and that's the general shape of the tool. That in each section we collect various methods that we are experimenting with, and over time, like we can have conversations. It's not mandatory to use all the methods for all the projects, but it contains options to consider. So, for example, the main two things that we have in the ease of use section is, of course, user testing. So that's the same thing that Maria was talking about with prototyping and quick prototyping, showing users. And the most important thing is that we don't want to explain it to users and ask what they think. We want to see them use it with minimal explanation and then talk about it. So that's the gold standard, user testing for us. But of course, there are also other ways. So we like to use this list of 10 usability heuristics by Jakob Nielsen. That's an article that summarizes how to make apps that are easy to use. So, for example, this is an example of a filled-in evaluation for one of our apps with those Jakob Nielsen's heuristics. So as you can see, we did a good job on visibility of system status, but maybe not necessarily error prevention. So that would be a signal to maybe in the next iteration, we should think about error handling. And finally, the beauty part. So yeah, of course, beauty is to some extent subjective, but the opinion of like specific people is already a fact. So we can work with that. We can have also expert feedback or also heuristic evaluation using a slightly different set of heuristic evaluations just for aesthetics, not usability. And finally, we had a good experience with an ebook called Refactoring UI, which contains a lot of design tips that is specifically tailored for developers to use. So if we don't have like a professional designer involved, it helps to use refactoring UI and go through just tips that are there. And you can get surprisingly far that way. Yeah, so those are our methods for making the app beautiful. Yeah, and also that's, if you haven't seen Maria's talk, maybe you can catch it online later about the power of prototyping. That also helps in this context. Okay, so I showed you a lightning review of this form that teams can fill in. But you might be asking yourself, but is anyone actually going to use it? If we just send by email to all the teams, oh, here's a new form to fill, please use it, that will probably not be effective. And you'd probably be right that we are not expecting to for people to just use it automatically, but we are treating this tool itself with the same framework that we propose for apps. So we try to understand the needs of the various teams of engineers, clients, leaders involved in those projects. We test it with users and improve. So this sheet that you are seeing today is actually the third iteration, and hopefully there will be more iterations after that. So and like we are using it also like talking about this tool. It's also a form of education. So of course, we don't expect people to just understand and do everything perfectly themselves. Rather we work with them like in a, let's say, interactive way. So with that in mind, like we had in the past few months, we had 9 practice applications of this approach. And here are some benefits that popped up again and again. So one benefit is that this kind of approach helps us identify problems that can lead to bad user experience that we might otherwise miss. It helps you like zoom out, look at the broader context, but also go through in a systematic way through various things that even if you are an experienced developer, even if you are an experienced designer, you might not think about every time. So it's like a checklist for that. Second thing is it can help find low-hanging fruit. So sometimes like it takes the same effort to do it well compared to doing it poorly, if only we know what we should do. So it can, if we do this evaluation early in the planning phase, or evaluate an early prototype, we can find things that we can just automatically do better without additional investment. And number 3, and maybe most importantly, it helps improve the quality of conversations that we have around design within the team and with clients to create a shared understanding of what we mean by various things like great design, like usefulness, and so on. And it also helps people to just learn about the topic if they're interested in. So to summarize, how to make apps users love? Well, first of all, think about more than just beauty. Number 1, usefulness. Number 2, usability, making it easy to use. And finally, beautiful. And it helps to talk about it, to plan it, to be deliberate about this planning. And finally, to evaluate your progress so you can do it better next time. And most of all, just care about it. So if you care about it, you can download the slides from this QR code and this link, go.appsilon.com/design. And you can talk to me at the booth, although the booth is disappearing soon, I hear. But you can find me in the hallway, and if not, you can find me online. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. So I'm peeking at Slido for the questions. And one of them is, how do you avoid over-engineering apps?
That's a problem, but one way is to do like we do that. We think about usefulness, so that automatically focuses our attention. Like, what do we need to achieve this purpose? And then we do user testing and with early prototypes, which also shows like, are we on the right track or not? And we do it in short iterations closely with the client. So maybe it happens sometimes, but that's how we reduce this risk.
The other question we have is, can you talk a bit about getting buy-in from clients or users around design decisions?
About specific design decisions or decisions in general? Or design
decisions. But I guess it extends.
I guess that's going back. So we frame the conversation about like what are we trying to achieve: adoption and impact. So if some design decision like can be viewed in this light, then it will be easy to convince people. Like, do you want like if they believe that we are actually addressing what they really want, then it will be easier to convince. It's not just design for design's sake.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
I think we're making like a landing on the spot for the coffee. No, there's not. Just some Slido question just hitting me unexpected. Okay, great. So I would love for you to join me in thanking all of our speakers again. So thank you very much.